Thanks for joining everyone for the webinar today. My name is Nate and I'm with our sales team. Zonos is we support cross-border e-commerce by helping merchants handle the duty, tax, and compliance to make a seamless customer experience for shoppers. Our mission is to create global trust and global trade. And one way we do that is by cultivating relationships with other experts in the industry. So today we're excited to host an interview with NetElixir. They specialize in marketing and SEO for international e-commerce, and they've spent over 7 million hours optimizing campaigns for organizations all over the world. Today we have Ted, who is an SEO account manager at NetElixir. And so Ted, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and kick things off.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So yeah, like was said, my name is Ted Tansley. I'm a SEO manager at NetElixir. I have 7 years of experience in SEO, and I'm a subject matter expert in international SEO at NetElixir. And so today, let me pull up my screen here. And today we're talking about international SEO and how to take your e-commerce business into new markets. So really the agenda for today is, as soon as I can get this slide to actually go. All right. So the agenda today is we're going to be really talking about what is international SEO, how is this different from the typical SEO that you might be doing today, how to know if international expansion is right for you, who is impacted and how you are impacted when you don't have international SEO, and then what you'll need from an agency to support your international efforts. And so that's really what we're talking about today. First off, what is international SEO? So by definition, that is the process of growing your website and your brand presence in new markets outside your native country or language. And at NetElixir, we identify really four core areas of focus when it comes to defining international SEO. And that'd be as follows. So that's quality content and technically sound websites. That's localization, that's domain structure, and it's language and country tagging. So that first one, quality content and a technically sound website, that's going to sound really familiar because that's going to sound a lot like a typical SEO package that you may be having. And if you thought that, you'd be right, because having high quality content for your website and a technically sound website is universally important. It's absolutely critical that the content you have for your website is useful for your customers and it helps them to get the information that they're looking for. And having a technically sound website for when they come to the site is absolutely key, because if you have someone come to your site and they can't engage with it, it runs too slow, that sort of thing, that's going to really impact the ability for someone to determine that they want to make a purchase on your site. So universally important, and that's why it's a key part of this. Localization, on the other hand, that's going to be making your site meet the needs of the people you're targeting. And so within localization, there's a wide range of opportunity there for anyone looking to expand internationally. And it could be something as small and simple as allowing purchases in any currency to something like a large project as if you wanted to have an entire website translated. So really a range of options there. Domain structure. So what domain structure is essentially how is your website set up? How are the URLs set up? For websites and businesses looking to expand internationally, it's really important to determine that if you need a domain structure, and then which one you want to use. So when you're looking into that, there's a few options available. You could be looking at subdomains, subfolders, country code top level domains. And with those options to choose from, it's really key to know the pros and cons of each, understand what will work for the organization, and then that will also meet your needs and help you achieve those goals. So on the last bit, language and country tagging, that's going to sound like localization, but it's different. It's really the localization for the search engines. And what that is to help these specific taggings that you put onto a web page to tell the search engines what page is the right one for someone that's from a different country or that's speaking a different language. You're essentially saying, hey, this is our default. We have a default web page. This is our default there. And then these other pages, these are the alternates. This is the one for people who are from this country. This is for people who speak for this language. And having that's really a key part of international SEO. So now we know what it is. Is this something you even need? If you're looking at these questions here and you can't answer yes to any of these questions, you definitely need to be considering international SEO for your website. And for those first two, if you're looking at them and you're not really sure about the answers to them, you may need support in figuring out the answer to them. Those first two questions are really the initial questions you want to ask, right? So do you have an existing audience of international customers coming to your site? What are your competitors doing, right? Like, do you know what the competition is doing in the space? Are they leveraging international SEO? Are they expanding into new markets? What is it that they're doing that you may want to be doing? So really knowing those answers is going to be super key. If, let's say you're answering yes to a lot of this and you know that you need it, but you also know that you don't really have an international SEO strategy. So who is it really impacting, and what parts of the business is it impacting when you don't have a clear, defined strategy for your international expansion? So the first group I want to talk about is your customers, right? The customers are going to be impacted without a strategy. If you don't have a strategy to support the international customers, they may be finding your site, wanting the product, but not really sure that you can sell to them. And that's going to make them feel really not that valued. An example of this would be, let's say they come to your website, they know that they want what you have, but you find that the site is only selling in dollars. It's not clear that they can get the currency that they purchase in. This is going to make them feel like they're not an audience that's valued, and then they're going to realize that they don't actually want to purchase from you and determine that they can't do business with you. This sort of situation, by having this happen, is really puts off whole groups of people. They could be really valuable customers for you had there been a plan to support them, but without the right strategy in place, they're unlikely to give you that second chance to really win them over. And then the other group, since we're talking about customers and deciding not to purchase, that other group's going to be the online retailers. For them, they're missing out on opportunities that they could have captured on, right? They're restricted to just one country, one language, and that leaves opportunity on the table in instances when they have that potential to attract international customers. If there's international customers or international people outside the US that are looking to make a purchase with you, they have unmet needs, but if you're not able to reach them, that's just leaving potential on the table for your online retailers. And then additionally, over time, as that retailer becomes known to have a product that people want but not able to meet that need, the brand is going to be hurt over the long term. And then additionally, without a clear plan, there's a high potential for wasted resources if things aren't done correctly. Let's say you're already invested, like you have a couple of websites, something like that, but you're not guided on how to ensure the success of that investment. You may find that you're wasting resources in the process. And if let's say you have a bad technical implementation, you're investing, but you're not doing it correctly, and you're going in without a plan and making mistakes, you could actually hurt your existing business by doing that, because the mistakes that are made in this space in international SEO and with SEO can spill over into your primary website and impact the ability for that main website to make sales. So that's why it's incredibly important to be guided through these options, determine a strategy that works for you and that ensures that the investment you're making has a higher potential of return. And that's on the bad side of things. Let's say things are going well. You deploy a strategy, you're making sales, but you weren't prepared to properly fulfill those orders and you're not able to get the product to your customers in a reasonable time frame. That can generate dissatisfaction with your brand. So having those conversations with your internal teams is also really key when doing this. Can your business handle things if they go well? All right, so we talked about what is international SEO, what happens when you don't have it, what is getting international SEO going to look like? And so at NetElixir, we've identified 3 main areas of focus for what an international strategy is going to look like. And that's include consulting, auditing, and then pitfall prevention. So consulting, that's really showing where the opportunities really are, providing directional support for the strategy. Auditing, that's going to be reviewing the website, identifying opportunities to get the most out of the investment, making sure that the site is technically sound like we talked about, and then pitfall prevention. And that's essentially just making sure that the strategy is working out and avoiding the common mistakes that are made, because there could be mistakes that come up very easily. And so preventing that is going to be absolutely key. Now, we split these up into a little bit more refined detail here. So consulting, we split it up into 2, that's market research and domain structure. So market research, that's going to be showing you the markets that are available, where you're currently generating traffic from. It's also going to include looking at the competition, seeing what are they doing, where are they succeeding, is this where you can also succeed, and really verifying which countries and languages have that potential for your business. Domain structure, the consulting there, that's going to be really working with the teams to determine which domain structure is going to meet your needs and fit the capabilities, because there's going to be pros and cons to each structure and different resources that are going to be necessary to take advantage of it. And it will be able to give direction for what to do and how to do that. And then another key part I want to identify is that sticking to a structure is going to be key. Having consistency is critically important for this, because changing things around too much is really going to send a bad signal to the search engines, make it less likely that you're going to perform the way that you want to. All right, and then auditing. So auditing the site, that's going to look awfully like how a traditional SEO provider is going to be looking at things. They're looking at the technical side of things and the content side of things. When in terms of international SEO, we're going to be identifying the technical issues that could be holding your performance back when trying to expand internationally. We'll be able to recommend actionable steps so that you can move forward and know how to improve your visibility with the websites that you have. The content side of it, that's really going to be reviewing the site localization, identifying areas of opportunity. And like I said before, it could be something really small to something much larger, and really having an audit to identify those areas of opportunity is going to be incredibly helpful here. And then, as part of the auditing process, be helping to support, guide the teams through the steps, making sure that it's known what opportunities you have to better localize the content for international audiences. All right, and then last bit here, the support side of things. This is to really help avoid the common pitfalls that end up wasting resources, that cut into return on investment. And support would also include suggestions for how to bring awareness to internationalization. So and track the business that you're after. So it's one thing to just create a landing page, say, hey, we could support sales to Canada, but it's another thing to really make it known so that it's obvious from someone who's coming from Canada that they can make that purchase with you. And so yeah, that's really everything that there is from a base level of international SEO. We talked about what it is, reasons why you may need it, the potential issues that come when you do need it and you don't have it, and then lastly, what is it that a international package is going to look like? What is this next steps on SEO that are going to help you to move forward and expand your business. And now, if this is something that sounds interesting to you, you can talk with us at NetElixir. This is our marketing contact, marketing@netelixir.com. You can schedule a complimentary SEO assessment by emailing our team, and we'll be able to schedule that out with you. And additionally, if you want to reach out to me individually, again, my name is Ted Tansley, SEO manager here at NetElixir. This is my contact info there, email and phone number, and then LinkedIn if you want to personally connect with me. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Ted. It looks like we do have a little bit of time for a Q&A. Attendees, in the bottom of Zoom, there should be a question and answer field where you can submit your questions, and we'll should be able to get through a couple of those. So first one, so what is the bare minimum I can do to start expanding my business internationally?
The bare minimum, I'd say the bare minimum would be two things. One would be to at least look at what is it that, answer those first two questions, like where the customer's at and where's the competition. But also, like I've been mentioning, having that currency is going to be actually the bare minimum. Being able to sell to people in other places, that's going to be the absolute bare minimum.
If my site and brand are already attracting international site visitors and sales, do I need international SEO?
That's a good question. And with a lot of SEO questions, it kind of depends. If you're already getting international business, you may not need to do much more than work with that business that you have, right? So however, it also, if you're attracting business from places that don't speak English, you might want to consider what an expansion is going to look like to really target those speakers. So having those conversations and having that consult is going to be really important for that.
Okay. We already have a large global reach, but our numbers are being hit by the increases in shipping and taxes. How can we combat this?
Global reach, numbers being hit. Numbers like our organic performance or just yeah, that's a great question. I'm not quite sure how to answer that from that perspective of where the numbers are being impacted because of the increasing cost to shipping and taxes. That might be another conversation, I'd say.
And just speaking from here, that's something that Zonos can definitely help with. So how do I look up the best international terms for SEO on my site?
Yeah, so you can do this in a couple of ways. One of the ways that would be a good way to get started would be to look at your Google Search Console and then filter it by the country. Let's say you've already looked in your Google Analytics, you know that you're getting visits from Canada. Going into Search Console to really see what questions are they asking, what is it that they're searching there, and that might give you an idea for how you're being visible in that location. And that would be a good way to get started there.
What are the most common mistakes brands make in their international SEO?
The most common mistakes would be, I definitely see two really main common mistakes. One would be expanding too quickly and not being prepared to support that expansion. So like if you open up a lot of new domains, like the country target domains, but you're not really prepared to actually localize the content, that would be a big one. Another one would be, in that similar vein, would be, let's say you need to put in those country or language tagging. Not having those correctly implemented is going to be a common issue that I just read an article the other day that said something like, in their study, it was like 30% of international businesses do not do the tagging correctly. And so having that is going to, one, set you apart, but two, help make it so that your pages that you do want to be performing in different locations are able to, and it's really clear what you want from the search engine.
What is the number one mistake people make when going into a new country that uses a different language?
Mistake. Different language. I think I mean, large part, a lot of people would assume that you can just simply Google Translate everything and not actually try to work to fully localize the content. And it's okay to take it in steps to really localize the main pages, the navigation, the cart checkout, that sort of thing. But if you and then work to expand from there. But if you make no attempt to localize, or you just Google Translate everything, you're going to come off as not particularly reliable.
Do you have an example of a company that you've worked with that was very successful in growing SEO? What are some specific examples of areas that improved their bottom line?
In example of a company, I don't know if am I able to name names, and a lot of the businesses that we work with are e-commerce businesses. So in the examples where we've seen a lot of growth was really when we've taken steps to be incredibly clear with the search engines what it is that should be prioritized. We had an example where they had a lot of duplicate content on their site, a lot of duplicate pages that were doing the same thing, but they were linked to the wrong ones, and they weren't particularly clear with search engines what was the primary page. And so in clearing those up, we were able to see a lot of growth out of that. And that was just because we were really direct with the search engine, stayed consistent, and we cleared up the issues that we were having.
Do you have experience optimizing websites for China and obtaining the ICP, Internet Content Provider license?
No, I personally don't have experience with optimizing sites for China. I do know a few clients do have sites in that space, but I haven't had the chance to speak with them directly on that. It'd be interesting. I'm certainly interested in the process for that, and that would be really great to learn more there.
Cool. And you mentioned domain structure. Can you elaborate on that and give some examples of what a business can do to improve?
Yeah, so domain structure, you have your .com. You can go into, you have those options, like I said earlier. So you have your .com, that tends to be your primary domain. You can do a few different things. You can either get the country target top level domain, which would be like the .fr, .c, .ch, whatever the country code is. And that would be a new domain for a specific country. But you can also do subdomains, which would be having a URL slug at the beginning. So like, let's say it'd be, an example would be like fr for French, fr dot, business.com. And a subdomain could be something that you want to go through. A common one that people tend to do, which is a little bit easier, which would be subfolders. And so that would be like your business.com / the country and language code / whatever the rest of the URL ends up being. And so what that does is having those subfolders, it makes it a little easier to organize, and you can really target specific languages, specific countries in that way.
Okay, and then do you have a preference on which one is best, doing the subdomain or getting the .com?
So that's something you have to have that consultation with to really determine what is it that the organization can do on their end. Is this something where you have the resources, and then also what sort of support can you give afterwards? So the country level domain, where it's like the instead of the .com, it's like the .fr, for example. that takes a lot of resources because it's essentially a brand new website, and you have to really work on it to build it up. But once it's there, it's pretty impactful. So it's really having that conversation and navigating the process is how you're going to determine what's best for you.
Well, great. I think we're getting to about time, so I think we can give everyone a couple minutes back. If you have questions that were unanswered, we will get to those via email. Or you can also, if you think of something after the webinar, feel free to submit a question and we can get you an answer via email. Thank you so much for joining. A recording will be sent shortly. And thanks again for joining today.
Thank you. This was fun.